4 months ago, Governor Pence announced that this legislative session would be an education session. Instead, what the children, educators, and voters received were political attacks on the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, authority removed from the Department of Education and transferred to the State Board of Education, schools fighting against schools for funding, and further erosion of morale among teachers. Despite what he claims, Governor Pence's only education agenda is to prevent me from doing the job that the voters elected me to do. The governor has brought his Washington style of politics to Indiana to accomplish his agenda. Indiana's voters do not support the governor's approach to getting his way. Hoosiers care about the education system and the supports that we give to our children. The governor has made it clear that his political and personal attacks will increase in intensity for the rest of this term. Despite his efforts, the people of Indiana know that I intend to continue doing my job. Throughout my term, I will continue forward to reduce the high-stakes stress of testing for our educators, students, and families, advocate for equitable funding for public schools, provide support for schools so that they can continuously improve, ensure that our students are college and career ready upon graduation, work with local communities to provide wraparound services to our students, provide avenues to increase pre-K programming, provide college and career pathways for all students, replace the flawed A to F school accountability system with a fair, transparent system, and attract and retain the best teaching professionals in the country, which is becoming increasingly more difficult to do in Indiana because of its political education environment. In the last few days, the governor has made it a priority to bring back failed language in bills that had already been voted down. He has ignored his fellow Hoosiers and worked to centralize control of education in one unelected and politically appointed board. In fact, throughout his term, Governor Pence has shown disdain for the voice of the public and an open and transparent government. Indiana does deserve better. Perhaps the power of Indiana's politics will see balance after the 2016 election. And I'll take questions.
Will you consider running for governor next year?
Well, you know, after this session, there's absolutely nothing off the table. The first priority is getting through this school year. We're in the midst of testing, getting all that done. But after that, I'm going to sit down with my family and determine what is best for the children and the families in Indiana. And I'll give you more information about that in June.
In terms of the State Board of Education, I guess some of us think all the members will be replaced coming up. Do you think you can work with this board despite what's gone on here, or do you feel what was gone on in the past will be?
I will continue to be respectful and professional in my manner in running as chair, doing the chair of the board. That is my job. That's what I was elected to do, and I will continue to do my job no matter who the members are.
When did you change your mind on everything being on the table? Because up until, at least as far as my knowledge today, you've been pretty adamant that a run for governor was off the table for you. Well,
you know what? After viewing the outcome of this general session, it's caused me to have a pause and to actually look at how I might want to reframe what I want to do to move education forward. Like I said, I'm going to have some dialogue with my family and talk about whether it is that I might seek a governorship for the children and families in Indiana, and I won't be making that decision until June.
Was there any type of education policy that was passed that you were happy with?
Well, that's an interesting question because there really wasn't much that happened in this session that was about education. It was all about seeking power or changing power or moving power. We do have a lot more schools that are going to receive more funding. However, I'm disappointed that we also have a group of schools that are not going to receive more funding. I asked for equity in funding. All schools need to have more funding in order to meet their needs of the children in their schools. So, I'm going to be doing a careful analysis of of everything that ended in the session, but it really was mostly about the governor's agenda of gaining more power and control and centralizing that more in the board. And that's how I feel things are going. I don't see that changing necessarily. It really wasn't an education session. They may have put more money but we really haven't moved in terms of really providing what we need for kids. The kids in Indiana, you know, we are 50% of our children free and reduced lunch in this state. Instead of focusing on what the real needs are of our children in the state of Indiana, he was focused on the bureaucratic power of just being in charge.
You mentioned the governor, you anticipate that he's going to continue to try to derail your agenda. What's your strategy for actually getting some of the things that you mentioned accomplished without, you know, a lot of support from in the, you know, General Assembly and the governor's office?
Well, the items that I mentioned are already underway at the Department of Education. So as the superintendent of the Department of Education, I have these things already moving forward. I expect them to continue to move forward. My role as the superintendent is to support the schools in getting what they need. And if it involves me doing a little fighting along the way to get that done, I will do so. It's important for the children in Indiana to have what they need in their schools, to have the opportunities when they leave our K-12 system. So I'll be continuing the programs that we already have in place, and I'll be moving forward to be sure that they are in place.
Thanks, guys. I know you got to get across the hall. Appreciate your time.